Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and the question of the day is: have you gotten your loose NES games graded yet? And I'm saying that because of all the madness that's going on with the NES and those Mario games that were recently discovered. I'm sure there's a ton of people who are out there looking for loose Mario games and things like that they can grade. And there's going to be this huge resurgence in the NES that I'm sure we're going to see here in the next couple weeks. So be on the lookout for loose NES carts to become the next hot thing. I would say that we're probably about midway through the euphoric hype surrounding the PlayStation 3. I give it another few months, and I think the PS3 craziness will probably wear down. I don't think that necessarily means prices will drop dramatically, but the way these things typically go is there's a ton of hype around these games when the prices first shoot up, because there's still a lot of opportunity to find these games at relatively cheap prices when compared to their inflated prices. But once, places like GameStop catch up and start repricing these games, once your local mom and pop shops catch on and they start repricing these games, that's when you start to see the purchasing slow down. That's when you see a lot of people begin to hold these cartridges. And if you were a person who bought, let's say, in the middle of the hype or as the prices were rising, that's when you're going to start to see these people who don't necessarily really want these games or want to play or keep these games. That's when you're going to see them try to offload these games on eBay, Mercari. They're going to try to sell them at a bunch of places, trade for them. And, just like anything else, when everybody's buying, the price goes up. And then when everybody's trying to sell, the price goes down. So I don't know how many of these PS3 games are games that people are going to want to hold for a long time, because I don't really know how many collectors there are out there. But I do know that there's a lot of opportunists out there. And so we're going to see a lot of opportunists move how opportunists typically move. They ride the wave, and when the wave is over, they sell and get out. So we'll see. As for me, I've been collecting for the NES for, it feels like forever now. And after I sold my collection, one of the fastest sections of my collection was the NES. And today we have a new addition to that part of my collection. Got to do a little bit of cleaning here. But we have a pretty clean copy of Shadow of the Ninja for the NES. This is a great action platforming game, in my opinion. I'm not sure if it's canon to like the Ninja Gaiden series. Some people say that it is. I think I heard one person say that it's like the spiritual successor, or maybe it's like the unofficial fourth installment to the Ninja Gaiden series. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a great game on its own, but it's one that I was glad to add back. I think I have almost every NES game that I had in my original NES collection. There's 3 in particular that I know I'm still missing, and that is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Metal Storm, and Felix the Cat. Those were 3 games that I had in my original collection that I have not gotten back yet. I do intend to get those back. It's just going to take some time, but I will get those back. And then there's also a game that I've been always wanted to add that I never got a chance to add in my original collection, and that is Widget the World Watcher. Widget is an awesome cartoon. If you never watched Widget as a kid growing up, that probably means you're not old like me. Let me not say that. I don't think I'm that old, but Widget the World Watcher was a really great cartoon. It was basically an alien that could transform into like any animal he wanted to. And it was just a fun cartoon, man. It was a fun 90s cartoon. And growing up, I didn't even realize they made a video game around it. But I guess there's a Super Nintendo version and there is a NES version. I'm not sure if there's one for the Sega Genesis. You guys can let me know down in the comments below. But the Widget the World Watcher is definitely the one that I wanted to get as well. So I've got about 4 NES games on my wish list. We'll see if I can add those games before the year is over. But there's no rush. I'm definitely going to take my time, see if I can find them and trade for them. Outside of Shadow of the Ninja, I did get another pickup, and it is my favorite video game of all time. I finally have it back in the collection, and yes, that's right, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Dreamcast. Now, I already have this on the PlayStation 2, But those of you who know, if you know, you know, the Dreamcast is the definitive way to play Marvel versus Capcom 2. And I know I'm going to get a lot of folks in the comments that are like, oh, dude, you could have paid $20 and got it on the Switch. I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Switch. It does not play or even sound the same. And I think that's the thing. Like, if you did not grow up in the era of the arcades, like if you didn't actually go to an arcade store or a comic book store or a laundromat or a pizza shop or a Subway terminal, if you're in New York or if you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about. Like, if you didn't grow up in a time where arcades were a thing and like you got to hear that arcade sound, you're not really going to be able to tell the difference. It's just going to be like audio's audio. And I always compare it to listening to a song on an MP3 versus listening to it on vinyl. It's just two completely different experiences, and this is the reason why people still have record players today. I mean, if sound quality didn't matter, there would be no reason for stores like a Guitar Center or Sam Ash or any one of those, stores where you can get different pieces of sound equipment and ways to EQ your sound. That all that stuff adds to the nostalgia factor, and that's what it is with retro games, right? It's all one big nostalgia rush, and for me, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 of the Dreamcast is the definitive way to play the game, so I am glad to add this back. I heard Pete Dorr say something the other day. He was talking about consoles to collect for right now, like one of the, what are the consoles that people should be collecting for while everyone's distracted with like the PlayStation 3 and the Switch and some of these other consoles. And one of the consoles that he named was the Dreamcast. And according to him, the Dreamcast is probably one of the best consoles to collect for, being that the most expensive games on the console are top out at between, $400, maybe $500, whereas on other platforms like the PlayStation 2, the highest selling games for those consoles can go upwards of $2,000. So I never really considered it from that perspective, that I never really looked at the Dreamcast as a relatively cheap console to collect for. But when he put it that way, it was like, you know what? Yeah, he's kind of right. Like, he's kind of right. And there's a ton of really cool RPGs you can collect for it. Evolution 2, the Grandia games. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Yes, there are some expensive titles. Yes, there are some titles that are in the $100 range, $150, maybe $200 range. But there is a lot of really good stuff on the Dreamcast. And thankfully, I just bought a Dreamcast collection. It's weird. Like, he came out with that video right after I spent money on an entire Dreamcast collection, where I did get a lot of the heavy hitters like Illbleed and Techromancer and Power Stone 2, amongst others. But there's still a bunch of Dreamcast games that I want to get, and it's encouraging to hear that now is the time to get them. So I will be on the hunt for certain Dreamcast games: Bangai-O, Elemental, Gimmick Gear, Power Stone, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 now, Spawn in the Demon's Hand. The list goes on. There's so many that I want to add back to my collection from the Dreamcast, but we've got some time, so we'll see. I've got a bunch of items in the collection that I have right now that I'm considering trading for, so that I can get some of these games before it gets really tough to get them. I think there's still runway on the PlayStation 2, and I have time. Like, if I trade away some of the PlayStation 2 games I have in my collection, I think I have some time to get those back, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys have been picking up, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.